With the boys side, there's a little difference. It's actually interesting that I'm going through this right now. Boys hockey budget annually is approximately, and girls hockey budget as well. They're both the same, about $19,000. Now what that includes is your supplies, which would be, I mean, there's a lot of different things that each team needs. Each team needs a little bit different stuff, which is interesting with sports that are the same, essentially. But one thing that's interesting about the hockey budget that I think is, for yourself as someone learning a little bit about it, is that it would be like having boys and girls football. That would be a little bit different based on the level of wear and tear on equipment, gear, stuff like that. Girls go through their hockey gear a lot. They not take better care of it, but because of the lack of checking in the game, jerseys last longer, gloves last longer, everything kind of lasts longer in girls hockey. So it doesn't necessarily reflect that in the budget, but we do spend our money on kind of different things throughout the year. Coaching budget would be approximately, and this would be exact parallel, boys and girls. What we do with our coaching, and I'll give you those numbers as best I can. There's some variables there based on how long everybody's coached, how much experience they have. We have in Moorhead, boys and girls, we have a varsity head coach, we have a varsity assistant, and we have a JV head, JV assistant. Then we also, each program has some volunteer coaches that get paid maybe through their boosters or whatever. But I would say the budgets there, you're looking at probably about $15,000 to $18,000 per staff, broken down by number of years of experience, etc. And then transportation, and I'll mention that piece. That I do not have on this sheet. That from my standpoint, again, I'm in year one. The rules of our transportation, Moorhead is a whole different ballgame than almost any other school, with the exception of, I would say, some comparable schools in Minnesota with regards to their hockey transportation budgets would be Warwood and Roseau, because they also are a significant distance from a majority of their competition. Our transportation budget in Moorhead for hockey, I do not have the numbers in front of me, but it's pretty substantial. Again, our boys and girls are very similar. We play a fair number of games in the Twin Cities, but even our close games against our rival schools would be your Fergus Falls, your Alexandrias, are still a pretty good distance. So our transportation piece is a pretty big piece of it. Okay. Really, it really comes down to needs, and that's a kind of a tricky thing. But we try to keep the budgets fairly balanced, activity by activity. And what we really look at with that is it's a number that we were actually the state requests us to report each year, which is the cost per participant. And now, if you can think about hockey, the cost per participant is reasonably high, but we also try to keep it in balance with other sports and activities that have kind of the same kind of needs. Hockey would be somewhat comparable with football because of your pads, your gear, things like that. So you really just look at what each program needs on a year-to-year basis. Well, and I'll speak to, this is my first year in Moorhead, so I can't really speak to the trends or changes just within in the world of Moorhead. But in the world of just high school activities budgets, and hockey would be inclusive of that, the last handful of years, everybody's had to, live with less. Mm-hmm. And whether it be efficiency on game nights, whether it be having a few less supplies. I know Moorhead at one point, prior to my being here, they went through a significant budget cut where they had each team pay for their longest road trip. So those types of creative ways to maintain your schedule while the school's spending a little less money. A lot of those types of things have happened over the last 5 years as the state funding for education in general has been decreased. That's a great question. I think it's a very hot topic in the world of high school activities, not only just high school hockey, but high school activities in general. We saw a huge increase in Minnesota again, back in that 5-year window, maybe even go back 8 to 10 years, when the state finances started to be reduced in terms of what they're contributing to the schools. Schools then started to, maybe 10 years ago, increase the user fees that each participant was paying. User fees went up initially, and I know that ours here, I think, are $180 per season for hockey. You see some schools as high as $250 to $300, but the reality is I have not seen user fees going up in any sort of fashion over the last couple of years. They seem to have plateaued to an extent, which we hope that it will stay that way. We hope that we have a scholarship program, and there's actually a group in Fargo-Moorhead. I cannot recall what the name of the group is, but there's a group that helps to take some of the pressure off those kids that don't have appropriate or don't have adequate funds. And the way we look at it in our program is, we can't help kids with their skates or their sticks and stuff like that, but we do take care of if a kid can't, if it's going to be either they eat lunch or they pay their user fee, we're going to make sure they're eating lunch, and we'll find the scholarship money for the user fee. So there are resources for kids to access.